The India Miswaylit and the Rage of Muslims of the World by Dr. A. Ahmed. This story is the continuation of the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful Indian girl, and the story of the Indian child bride and the old Arab husband. They were written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. It is a love story narrated in 6 books. Book 3, From a Slum Girl to the Queen of the World Beauty. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored, a tribal system, or transmitted in any form or by enemies without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages from the review for general printing in a magazine, newspaper, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons, live or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 60, Reciting the 7 Hindu marital vows. Ultimately, after all the evils committed against her by her Indian mother and her Indian fiancé, the Muslim girl Amrita Khan was converted to Hinduism and forced to agree to give up her imprisoned Muslim lover, her young illegitimate daughter, and agreed to marry the highly educated Hindu fiancé Rahul Patel. He had the high price and many other worldly qualities that his illiterate, uneducated fiancé lacks. She was given a Hindu name Bhuja and a temporary last name Krishna. She was told that her name will be officially changed after marriage from Bhuja Krishna to Bhuja Patel, the legal wife of Mr. Rahul Patel. Her tears flowed as she walked around the sacred fair, reciting the 7 vows in the Hindu marriage ceremony. Her face is hidden, and her sari is the only thing between her sorrows and the guests. The 7 Hindu marital vows are: 1. Rahul, you will provide me food and be useful in every way. I will cherish you and provide you and our children with well-being and happiness. Bhuja, I am responsible for the house and all household responsibilities. 2. Rahul, together we will protect our home and our children. Bhuja, I'll be by your side as your courage and strength. I'll be happy with your happiness. In return, you will love me alone. 3. Rahul, I hope we become rich and prosperous and strive to educate our children. May our children live long. Bhuja, I will love only you for the rest of my life because you are my husband. Every other man in my life will be secondary. I pledge to remain chaste. 4. Rahul, you have brought holiness into my life. You have completed me. And may God bless us with noble and obedient children. Bhuja, I will shower you with joy from your head to your toes. I will endeavor to bless you in every way possible. 5. Rahul, you are my best friend and my strongest wisher. You came into my life and enriched it. God bless you. Bhuja, I promise to love and cherish you all my life. Your happiness is my happiness, and your sadness is my sadness. I will trust you, honor you, and strive to fulfill all your desires. 6. Rahul, may you always be filled with joy and peace. Bhuja, I will always be by your side. 7. Rahul, we are now husband and wife, and we are one. You are mine, and I am yours forever. Bhuja, as God is my witness, I am now your wife. We will love, honor, and cherish each other forever. After the Hindu bandit performed their marriage ceremony, Rahul tied the Mangala Sutra around Bhuja's neck as a sign that she would be his wife for 7 generations of rebirths. Mangalasutra is a symbol of the Hindu marriage union in South Asia. It is a sacred thread of love and goodwill worn by a woman as a symbol of her marriage. Traditionally, Mangalasutra is the most symbol of love and respect given to the bride during the marriage ceremony. According to the Hindu cultural ethos, Mangalasutra symbolizes the inseparable bond between husband and wife. During the wedding ceremony, the groom ties the Mangalasutra on the bride's neck, saying, "May you live long wearing this sacred Mangalasutra, my reason for living." Pooja Patel recited the 7 vows perfectly as she was trained by her Hindu mother, Rani, but she didn't mean any of them. She also didn't resist when Rahul tied the Mangalasutra around her neck. She realized that marrying Rahul was the only way that could allow her to return to America, and her marriage to her Hindu fiancé would bless her Indian mother, Rani, and give her some freedom. At the time of her Hindu wedding rituals, her Muslim lover, Uncle Jimmy, had already served 8 months of his 2-year sentence. After the arranged Hindu marriage ceremony, the new couple, Rahul and Pooja, are supposed to travel to many cities in India to celebrate their happy honeymoon. Her Hindu mother, Radha Krishna, had prepared a list of beautiful tourist places that the newly married couple could visit across the country. So from New Delhi, the newly married couple traveled to Shimla city. After 5 days of touring the Queen of Hills, Shimla, the bride and groom traveled to Goa city. Pooja did not know that India had such beautiful cities until she visited the golden beaches of Goa. She only wished her real man, Jamal Khan, was with her. If only her handsome Muslim lover, Uncle Jimmy, could be there with her to enjoy it together. She misses him, his loving kisses, and his manly arms around her. Sex with Rahul is cold and a heavy burden for her. She is always making excuses to escape going to bed with him. She did not reach climax with her Hindu husband as she did with her Muslim lover, Jamal Khan. Rahul Patel is like an edible dish without salt. Neither she loves him, nor does he love her. The Hindu mother, Rani, had a great influence on her adopted daughter. In what she considered to be in her daughter's best interests, she brokered her daughter's marriage, separated the mother from the daughter, and gave her baby girl Rehana up for adoption in a Christian orphanage, choosing a Hindu husband based solely on natural culture. Finally, to please her nephew and make him agree to marry her adopted Muslim daughter, Radha Krishna forcibly transformed Aphrodite Krishna Khan into a Hindu girl, and after her Hindu wedding, officially changed her name to Pooja Patel. It is worth noting here that Indians, like their Ceylon and Chinese counterparts, value professional careers above all else. Other highly desirable marital rewards are property, money, jewelry, social status, correct religion, and upbringing. As far as Rahul is concerned, he is the best choice for her daughter. Optimally, even after demanding a selfish dowry, all Indian parents want a groom for their daughter who is a single, foreign educated young man, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a dentist, an engineer, or an architect. In a last-ditch effort to appease her mother, Buja handed over her physical body to her Hindu husband Rahul. Her heart was not interested in what her mother and her new husband had planned. After spending a few days in Goa city, the wife Buja refused to go to any other city with her Hindu husband Rahul, so she pretended to be sick and asked to be sent back to New Delhi. The few days of her honeymoon she spent with her Hindu husband in Shimla and Goa, like the terrifying days and long years of kidnapping and rape that she spent in two palaces of terror in captivity with her former captors, Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed and the film director Mahmoud Khan. Everything paled in comparison to the fairest honeymoon she spent with her Muslim lover, Uncle Jimmy. For her, the difference between the two marriages is like ascending to the heights of paradise heaven and falling into the scum of hell. Chapter 61. The rebellious Hindu bride Buja. Rani Krishna has no plans to travel now or soon to allow her adopted Muslim daughter who converted to Hinduism to return to America at this point. She wants her daughter to have her fairest child with her Hindu husband before any travel plans. Rani believed that in the long run, separation from her Muslim captor and infant daughter would strengthen her relationship with her Hindu husband, and her previous infatuation with the bad Muslim man Jamal Khan would fade into a nightmare of the past. But Rahul has different ideas. He is keen to complete the second installment of his dowry and add his name to the house deed in America. In the end, Buja may change her mind and leave him before he gets his full share of the agreed upon dowry, which is $10 million. He doesn't care what happens next. Cunningly, he concealed his impatience and hidden selfish motives and claimed the necessity of finishing his final year of medical school. He claimed that his long absence from the medical program could lead to his being removed from the college register. He stressed that he had already been away for a semester, so being kicked out of college could be a high possibility. Faced with the loss of what is probably the most important attribute of her son-in-law, Rani Krishna has no intention of losing the social status of introducing her son-in-law as Dr. Rahul Patel, MD, Harvard University, USA. The Hindu mother suggested that her son-in-law return alone and leave his wife with her. Rahul, who was not entirely comfortable with the idea of leaving his rich wife, insisted on taking Mrs. Buja Patel with him. He has no intention of returning to India soon. When they reached an impasse, Rani suggested that Buja get pregnant by her Hindu husband Rahul and bear his child before leaving for the United States. It seemed like a compromise, and Buja was 1 month pregnant when the three returned to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Harvard. The months she spent living with her husband and mother in New Delhi made Buja unusually silent and docile. She allowed her mother to make all the decisions on her behalf. After all, in a strange way, Rani was able to control her behavior and make her a robot. She married Rahul, albeit under protest. She accepted all the orders of her Hindu mother and the suggestions of her Hindu husband. Although her Hindu husband did not beat her or imprison her like her previous captors, Ahmed and Mahmoud. It was actually a more difficult time for her. Mentally, although she is still a child in many respects, she had the needs and desires of a grown up girl. She has all the trappings of marriage, but no lover. Perhaps things would have been different for her if she had never tasted the joy of being able to choose for herself. The concept of choice and the freedom it entails is now only a fleeting memory, like a bird that has finally been allowed to fly for a few months but has now returned to its former golden cage and palace of aberration. Her resentment for her Hindu husband begins to assert itself and impose itself through coercion. For the first time in her life, Buja begins to understand the value of love and freedom. It was Uncle Jamie's love that entered her heart and illuminated it with freedom. It was the freedom that began to illuminate her dark mind and brought indescribable joy to her bleeding heart. She understood that all human beings are born free, but it is people and society that take away this freedom. In order to be free, she realized that she had to make some difficult choices. She should stop pleasing everyone around her and start making her own decisions instead of letting others decide for her. Since she was 7 years old, she was deprived of her freedom by an evil old Saudi man and turned it into a beautiful and sexy and sex slave until she met her Uncle Jimmy and fell in love with him. He filled her heart with happiness and enlightened her mind with freedom. But then her Hindu husband Rahul entered her life and enslaved her again. In order for her to gain her freedom again, social laws have to bend and religious values must decline. She has to choose between her Hindu mother and her Muslim lover. She's thinking about cohabiting with her Muslim lover without benefiting from the marital bond despite her upbringing. She will not care about religious or class differences as long as she is not limited by her choices and she is a consenting adult. The rest of the world has to deal with it. She will not notice or care if people describe her and her lover as adulterous and consider their children to be haram or illegitimate sons and daughters. The Indian wife Pooja, her Hindu husband Rahul, and her mother Rani left New Delhi and returned to the United States of America when she was 1.5 months pregnant. During their absence, Amrita Khan's 5 million plus home, which she created for her Muslim lover Uncle Jimmy and their daughter Rehana, remained locked. It is like an abandoned castle. Also, it is like a dead body or a ghost house haunted by demons without her handsome lover and her beloved daughter. During her lover's trial, some referred to her daughter as a love child. She thought that the words could either be a compliment to her beautiful daughter or a sign that she had made a mistake. In general, her sadness is not just that her mother and husband are living together with her. It is the culmination of a regime that also deprived her of her daughter and her lover. These two situations made it impossible for her to reconcile the fact that her Hindu mother had her best interests in mind. It is better for her to know what her interests are. Her home now stripped of the people who left has become tainted by the presence of the people who created her hell when she was in New Delhi. She knows that she cannot bring life and happiness back to her golden palace unless she first rids it of intrusive guests and returns its rightful occupants, her imprisoned king, her Uncle Jimmy, and their stolen princess, the child Rehana. It is now clear to her that her Muslim lover and precious daughter are a much higher priority than her Hindu mother Rani and her Hindu husband Rahul. Pooja understood her problem, but her problem solving skills prevented her from finding a practical solution. She still has many options. She can tell her mother that everything that happened to her and her child in India was wrong and hurtful to them. She can also put her foot down and declare that she does not want to live with her Hindu husband because she does not love him and he does not love her. She could easily refuse to pay the second installment of her dowry and not give him a share in the ownership of her beautiful house. She can tell Rahul to go to hell. If they objected it, she would just have to remind them that they were no longer in India. This is America, and it defends individual freedom and freedom of choice. Rani and Rahul cannot do anything to force her to stay in a marriage she never wanted it in the first place. The 7 Hindu promises she made to her Hindu husband in front of the Indian bandit who performed their wedding were no longer of any importance to her. Instead, Pooja decides to solve her problem like a teenage girl separated by her mother from her handsome lover. Then her mother forced her to marry someone else. She decided to abandon her beautiful palace and run away. She does not want to live with her Hindu mother and Hindu husband again. She is afraid that they will force her to stay with them forever and not allow her to meet or live with her handsome Muslim lover again. Pooja knew that there was only 1 month left for her imprisoned Muslim lover to be released from prison. So she decided to live in a hotel for a month, and when her Uncle Jimmy is released, she must meet him again in front of the prison of men, as they met for the first time in the past in front of the prison of women. After that, she must convince him to run away with her to another city or another country where they can start over their love life inside another palace and live happily ever after. Pooja escaped in the early morning hours while her husband and mother were asleep. Before fleeing, she cut the sacred Hindu thread, the Mangalasutra, from around her neck and placed it on a table in the living room. She took nothing with her except her small handbag. Her handbag contains her identity documents like her valid Indian passport, bank book, and checkbook. Her mother handed her papers and personal effects the night before to accompany her Hindu husband to the bank the next morning and transfer the remaining $5 million to his account as his dowry. Her mother also handed her the ownership papers of her house. She had asked her to go with her husband to a lawyer to add his name to the property deed to include his name as a co-owner of her home. Pooja ran away at a time when her Hindu husband needed her most. Rahul wanted it to get his remaining share of the dowry after receiving the rest of the $5 million and adding his name to the house deed. The Hindu husband, Rahul Patel, planned to return to India as soon as possible and settle his family inheritance left by his late mother, Mrs. Lakshmi Patel. By marrying his cousin Aphrodite Krishna Khan, he had fulfilled his late mother's condition to wed her niece and is now eligible to inherit the 5 crore rupees from his mother's bank balance and her house in Baroda city worth 1.5 crore of rupees. Once these assets are safe in his account, he will return to his wife Buja's side in the States. His motives are simple. Buja is a simple and naive girl, and he is going to steal as much of her millions of dollars as possible. After that, he will divorce her and find a suitable wife who is educated and enlightened like his American ex-girlfriend Emily. Buja repulses him from her as a wife. She is lower than his social status and below his academic station. He found her naive, childish, uncivilized, and uneducated. She lacks many other skills of the modern wife. The way his Hindu wife Buja talks and acts makes him think of the naive, remote villagers in said well-lit countries. So he considered it impossible that a Harvard graduate like him would be tied down to a simple girl like Buja for the rest of his life. When her husband Rahul and her mother Rani finally woke up, their enthusiasm for the day's activities was gone. The wealthy wife Buja is missing, and the thread of her sacred Mangalasutra is cut from her neck and lying on the table in the living room. The abundant sacred thread told them everything. They both realized that bringing her to America was perhaps the worst mistake they could have ever made. The Hindu mother knew deep in her heart exactly why this happened. Despite her escape, her mother Rani decides to play the old game of manipulation. Again, she convinced her brother-in-law Rahul to go to the police and file a complaint. Her Hindu husband has become more disturbed and saddened in his heart than his angry mother-in-law Rani. In his complaint to the police, he stated that his Indian wife Buja Patel had been kidnapped. The Hindu mother also reported to the police about the psychological state of her adopted Muslim daughter. She mentioned in her statement that her kidnapped daughter suffers from some psychological problems and therefore she is unable to take care of herself. She also clearly said that her missing daughter was mentally retarded. The US police authority did not deem it appropriate to question the claims of the mother and husband and issued a comprehensive search warrant for the missing Indian wife Buja Patel. The police department also did not ask why the Indian husband Rahul Patel married this mentally retarded girl. Chapter 62. Meeting the fairest Muslim wife, Mrs. Khan. The shrewd Hindu mother, Rani Krishna, is not satisfied with the police complaint filed by her and her son-in-law. She wants to make it impossible for her adopted daughter to live with her Muslim lover again. She wants the support of the Hindu community in supporting her case that her married Hindu daughter left her Hindu husband and eloped with a married Muslim man who had another Muslim wife and children. She is also considering submitting her complaint to the Imam of Muslims at the biggest mosque in town, as well as the imams of other Islamic mosques. She wants to make both the muhajirin or immigrant communities understand that what the married Muslim man Jamal Khan, aka Uncle Jimmy, did is and is still doing to our married Hindu daughter Pooja Patel is a huge religious violation and also a social disgrace to Hindus as well as Muslims in America. The very angry Hindu woman Rani Krishna realized that the long separation had done nothing to quell her daughter's love and infatuation for the said evil Muslim captor. She understood that the only thing that could help her in her case was Jimmy's other spouse, his number one Muslim wife. All she has to do is convince Jimmy's first wife to stay married to her Muslim husband. In this way, her daughters married to her Muslim lover will always attract the long arm of the law. But the Hindu mother does not know where Uncle Jimmy lived with his Muslim wife, with his first Muslim wife and their children before he went to prison. She doesn't even know the name of his first wife. What she does know is Jimmy's full name, which was mentioned so many times during the trial that she knew it by heart. Mr. Jamal Khan. A quick look in the local phone book yielded his address. She took her son-in-law and went to meet Mr. Jamal Khan's Muslim wife. Rahul has already been briefed by her so that he can play his role. Rani wondered out loud how much financial bribe a woman would need to remain married to her wayward husband. Rahul liked the idea of bribing Mrs. Khan and was already ready to live with his very angry mother-in-law. Mrs. Khan is a simple woman and a housewife. She has 2 sons with her imprisoned husband and 1 son born to her before she married Jamal Khan, known as Jimmy. Although her husband cheated on her with a girl 20 years younger than him, she remained loyal to him and loved him. She learned of his relationship with Aphrodite Krishna Khan before the case went to trial. But as a Muslim woman, her religious leaders and the Imam of the mosque convinced her that her Muslim husband had the right to marry 4 wives at the same time. According to their belief, God created the man physically stronger and therefore he needs more than 1 wife to grant him chastity and make him refrain from committing adultery or having sexual relations with other women without a permissible halal Islamic marriage. Moreover, her unfaithful husband promised her that he would continue to love her and treat her as an equal to his second Muslim wife. Mrs. Khan knew that divorcing her husband was a lonely road that she was not prepared to walk alone. It could mean losing her husband and living a life of perpetual celibacy and loneliness. At the age of 40, she is considered an old woman by the estimation of Indian Muslims. It would be almost impossible for her to find another Muslim man to marry her. So she accepted her kismet or a lot in life and agreed to share her husband with his second Muslim wife. Her Muslim husband kept his promise and did not abandon her. He spent the days and nights with his new Muslim wife Aphrodite. Sadly, he rarely had sex with her from that point on. When the police arrested it and detained her husband, Jamal Khan, his first Muslim wife, Mrs. Khan, was overjoyed. She thanked God 1,000 times for separating her husband from his second young Muslim wife. She visited him in prison weekly for several months without fail, hoping to mend the rift between them. Parental with their imprisoned father, she also brings her children so that they can renew and revive the connection. In the months he spent in prison, Jamal began to appreciate and love his first Muslim wife again. Therefore, the husband, Uncle Jimmy, repeatedly told his first Muslim wife that he was no longer interested in being with his second Muslim wife. When there were only 4 weeks left before Mr. Khan was released from prison, Mrs. Khan decided to celebrate her husband's release by throwing a big feast and inviting every Indian Muslim man and Muslima woman she knew in the city. However, the unexpected visit of Rani Krishna and Rahul Patel will be the catalyst for many changes in Mr. Khan's first marriage. Before their visit, Mr. Jamal Khan's first wife and second wife had never met. The first wife learned of her husband's infidelity, and his second wife, when the birth certificate of their daughter, Rehana, mistakenly arrived at her home address. Although the two rival wives knew each other, that was the extent of their knowledge. When the first Muslim wife, Mrs. Khan, met and talked to the Hindu mother of her husband's second Muslim wife, their encounter led to a series of events that neither of them could have predicted. It turns out that Mrs. Khan is none other than the mother of the poor Muslim girl Iffat Khan. Mrs. Khan is Rehana Khan, the long-suffering mother who took her daughter Iffat Khan to Saudi Arabia many years ago and has not seen her since. The intelligent Hindu woman Rani Krishna did not stumble upon this fact by chance. There is an uncanny resemblance when she first sets eyes on Mrs. Khan. She immediately felt that something didn't feel right. Her age lines cannot hide the fact that she is almost an exact copy of her adopted daughter, former slum girl Iffat Khan. Without thinking, Rani Krishna asked Rehana Khan if she had a daughter named Iffat Khan. Rehana has not heard anyone say her eldest daughter's name since the day the American intelligence agents of the CIA mentioned it to her after her trial in Jeddah City. From that day on, she felt guilty whenever she thought of her daughter. She blamed herself for not protecting her little 7-year-old daughter, and when she was released from prison, she hated herself for not being able to free her 11-year-old daughter from the clutches of her kidnapper and first rapist, Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed. It is a dark and a sad chapter in her life, which she rarely talks about, even to those close to her. Rahul Arani's visit opened this chapter again, and all her pent-up feelings from the past rushed forward. When Rehana Khan admitted that she had a daughter named Iffat Khan, who she lost when she was 7 years old, Rani Krishna informed her that her missing daughter was now her adopted daughter, Aphrodite, who became Pooja Patel. Rehana tried to find out how and when Rani found her eldest daughter, but the latter told the former that she had found her in prison in Mumbai, got her out on bail twice, took her home and adopted her as her beloved daughter Aphrodite Krishna Khan. Mother Rehana Khan did not ask for more details but thanked Mother Rani Krishna for her love and kindness. She guessed that her only daughter must have gone through a lot of pain and suffering before her path crossed with that of a loving Hindu woman. The mother Rehana said that the mother Rani said that her daughter Aphrodite was no longer a Muslim girl but became a Hindu girl and married her sister's son Rahul Patel, who received a higher education and who now sits next to her. In less than a year, Rahul will be a Harvard-educated doctor. She quickly added, that is why she's asked her to keep her bad Muslim husband, Jamal Khan, away from her married Hindu daughter, Pooja Patel. Then she told her how her unfaithful husband, whom her Hindu daughter calls Uncle Jimmy, had deceived her daughter under the spell of love and made her pregnant with an illegitimate child without the sanctity of the Islamic marriage bond. Rani Rehana Khan knew that she had stolen and deprived her daughter Iffat Khan of her childhood by taking her to a place where she suffered for a long time alone. After all these years, her daughter is still very sad. As a mother, she decided that she was now in a position to do something for her beloved daughter. She tells Rani and Rahul that she feels ashamed to call herself Iffat Khan's mother. Then she told them of her decision to do the only motherly things she could for her beloved daughter. She wants to ensure her daughter's happiness by allowing her to be with her lover, Uncle Jimmy. She wants to ensure her daughter's happiness by allowing her to be with her Muslim lover, whom she called Uncle Jimmy. Now she is willing and determined to sacrifice her Muslim husband, Mr. Jamal Khan, in order to allow her daughter Iffat Khan to have a real chance at happiness. She begged Rani and Rahul not to reveal to her daughter that the three had met. She preferred Iffat to assume that her biological Muslim mother Rehana Khan had simply disappeared into oblivion. She does not want to appear in her daughter's life again after all these years and take away the only happiness her lost child knew and be the reason for her continued misery and pain. She also begged them not to inform her imprisoned husband Jamal Khan that he had fallen in love with his stepdaughter Iffat Khan. Nothing Rehana Khan said seemed to move the hearts of her unexpected guests. No amount of cajoling, begging, and pleading could make them remain silent and allow Iffat Khan, now known to them as Pooja Patel, to follow her heart. So Rani and Rahul refused to budge. Nothing Rehana Khan said seemed to move the hearts of her unexpected guests. No amount of cajoling, begging, and pleading could make them remain silent and allow Iffat Khan, now known to them as Pooja Patel, to follow her heart. So Rani and Rahul refused to budge. Mrs. Khan has inadvertently given them the leverage and weapon they need to move forward with their plans. The Hindu mother Rani Krishna now has more ammunition than she ever expected to get from Mrs. Khan. She came prepared to bribe her with a huge sum of money, grovel, and beg Rehana Khan to intervene and help her separate the two adulterers and prevent her bad husband from pursuing her married daughter, who is no younger than his daughter. Her initial request was not to divorce her husband so that her daughter would not return to him. She said that by allowing her husband to have a shameful love affair with a married girl, he would be living in shame and breaking social law, which is forbidden to do in Islam. Rani reminded Rehana that she has 3 children to think about. How will her children react to the news that their father is still involved in a love affair with a girl young enough to be his daughter, who is in fact his stepdaughter? Mrs. Khan has just given Rani and Rahul a huge advantage. She handed them the weapon they need to kill her daughter's happiness. Rani and Rahul are really clear about the American laws regarding incest, sexual relations between a stepfather and his stepdaughter simply cannot be tolerated. When Mr. Jamal Khan learns about his relationship with his stepdaughter, he will surely put an end to his shameful relationship with her. If it is not, there will be a heavy price to pay the moment the justice system begins to work. Their problem has resolved itself at this point, and Rani and Rahul decide to make the police station their next stop. They knew and understood that this new information would separate the adulterous lovers forever. The bad Muslim man, Uncle Jimmy, will once again be sent to jail for committing incest with his stepdaughter. And the rebellious wife, Buja Patel, will return to her Hindu mother, Rani Krishna, and her Indian husband, Rahul Patel. Chapter 63. The strong emotional meeting between 2 intimate lovers. By the time Rani and Rahul went to meet Rehana Khan, even before they had a chance to present their startling new findings to the police, the authorities had already identified the hiding place of the alleged kidnapped Hindu wife, Buja Patel. She was found holed up in the same hotel where she spent her wonderful honeymoon with her Muslim lover, Uncle Jimmy. The police detained her for questioning. It didn't take long for them to realize that she had not been kidnapped. She readily admitted to escaping from her palace. The police decided to question her further, and Buja decided to tell them everything. She told the investigating officer why she abandoned her Indian husband, Mr. Rahul Patel, and escaped from her Hindu mother, Rani Krishna. She tearfully recounted how her Hindu mother deceiving her when she said she wanted to help her find her biological Muslim mother, Rehana Khan, in Bombay. Between sobs, she told him how her Hindu mother had forcefully taken her firstborn baby daughter and given her up for adoption in a Christian orphanage in New Delhi. She also explained how she was forced to marry her cousin and paid him a huge dowry of 350 million Indian rupees, equivalent to 5 million US dollars, and was supposed to pay the same amount as his total share in his Hindu marriage to her. In addition, on the same day she ran away, she was supposed to go to a lawyer with him and add his name as a partner in her house, which has a market value of $5 million. But Buja Patel did not know that this type of dowry in an arranged marriage is considered theft in American law. As soon as she completed her side story, the investigation officer decided that crimes had been committed against Mrs. Buja Patel, and an arrest warrant was immediately issued against the 2 Indian suspects, Mrs. Rani Krishna and Mr. Rahul Patel. So the duo was arrested on the same day. When the two, the mother-in-law and the brother-in-law and the son-in-law came to file a new complaint against Mr. Jamal Khan, they saved the police the trouble of pursuing them. A so-called high-priced Indian husband, Mr. Rahul Patel, is accused of kidnapping, rape, illegal detention, extortion, and theft. On the other hand, his Hindu mother-in-law, Rani Krishna, is accused of participating in the above crimes and aiding and abetting them. Among all the charges, the police took seriously the allegation that a U.S. citizen kidnapped child, forcibly deprived the mother of her baby daughter, and carried out an adoption abroad without the consent of the child's mother or her American father. Meanwhile, the fairest Muslim wife, distraught by current events, decided to write a letter to her husband in prison. Mrs. Khan announced in her letter that their marital relationship had ended and that she would file for divorce. She did not give any reason for her decision, but she reassured him that his children's visitation rights would not be objected to. She proposed unlimited and uncensored visitation rights. She confirmed that she no longer expected him as her Muslim husband and his marital benefits had stopped. Mr. Khan was shocked when his fairest Muslim wife ended her letter by encouraging him to return to his second Muslim wife, Aphrodite Krishna Khan, and live with her as a husband and wife. She added that she knew that his second wife still loved him and was impatiently awaiting his release. Mr. Khan knew instinctively that something had happened in his absence and decided that he must not abandon his fairest Muslim wife until he knew what had prompted her to take such a step. He believed that his second Muslim wife approached his fairest Muslim wife and claimed that she still loved him and perhaps told her that she would not leave him. He also suspected that she may have threatened her. Given her tendency to throw temper tantrums, she may have wanted his fairest wife to stay out of his way or risk physical harm or death. In his situation, not knowing all the facts, Mr. Khan decided that it was best not to have anything to do with his second wife. If she refuses to abide by his decision, he must let the law take over. From that moment on, Mr. Khan's love for Amrita Khan grows colder with every day he spends behind bars. He lost his respect for her because since he was in prison, she had not visited him or allowed him to see his child, Rehana. There was no connection between them from the time he landed in jail. He concluded that her love was mere infatuation and that passion and sex were merely fleeting moments shared and could not stand the test of time. After many months of neglect and the benefit of hindsight, he regretted it, cheating on his beloved fairest Muslim wife, Rehana Khan, and fall in love with a childish like the Muslim girl in the black burqa, Amrita Khan. The arrival of his fairest wife's letter made for the most confusing day of his life while behind bars. And instead of looking forward to his release, he feels anxious and wonders about the sudden change of heart of his fairest Muslim wife. Her decision to end their relationship made no sense at all to him. Why did she remain loyal to him despite his betrayal? So why did she suddenly decide to leave him and file for divorce? Why did she keep coming to visit him in prison and bringing him home cooked food? Why did she visit him and bring their children with her? Why would she leave him and encourage him to return to the girl who was supposed to be her arch enemy and her rival Muslim wife. Rehana Khan did not answer his phone calls at home and did not return to visit him in prison. Neither his first wife nor his second wife were present in the visiting room throughout the remainder of his imprisonment. For a long time, Mr. Khan had to live with the vivid memory of being arrested at home while in bed having sex with his beautiful and sexy young Muslim second wife, Amrita Khan. The American police stormed his second wife's house and tied him up like a criminal. He could still hear the voice of his second wife screaming and begging the police to let her husband go. It was one of the darkest and saddest days of his life. Often, he would wake up in the middle of the night in prison and start crying after having recurring nightmares. He blamed himself for causing so much pain in the heart of his rich young girlfriend, Miss Walid, and Bollywood actress Aphrodite. He regretted asking her to marry him. He knew all along that American law did not allow polygamy, but the fear of losing her led him to ignore secular law and resort to the loophole provided by Islamic religion. If he had not married her, he would not have been arrested in such a humiliating way, and he would not have caused her so much suffering because of it. What disturbed his conscience more was the future of their beloved daughter, Rehana. Uncle Jimmy has no idea that his daughter was treated as unwanted, illegitimate child and dumped as an outcast daughter in a Christian orphanage in New Delhi. On the day of his release, Uncle Jimmy found his girlfriend Aphrodite Krishna Khan standing and waiting for him in the same place in front of the men's prison as he had on the day he first met her in front of the woman's prison gate when she was released from jail. He was very surprised to see her standing without her black burqa, which in the past had become a part of her identity, like her black shadow. She is wearing a sleeveless shirt and shorts. Her beautiful, silk-like black hair reaches her knees. She looked a little larger than the last time he saw her. Her face was adorned with a white smile, making her cheeks buffy and her lips sweet enough to kiss. She has a large gold ring on her left nose, and her body is decorated from head to toe with a gold necklace, bracelets, and other expensive jewelry. She appeared to him like a famous Bollywood star or the daughter of the richest man in India. She is sexually hot and gorgeous. Her short panties, bare shoulders, long exposed legs, and big thighs and buttocks made her look like the sexiest girl in the whole world. Uncle Jimmy felt an irrepressible desire to make love to her. He has been celibate since his arrest and has had to stop himself from acting on his desires through masturbation. What he wants to do is make love to her in the street, just like dogs do in the said world on the open. Likewise, Buja's heart is overwhelmed with passion and sexual desire due to their first meeting in a very long time. When he reached out to her, took her in his arms, and began to kiss her on the lips, she felt like a virgin being touched for the first time. She is now completely under his control and follows his initiative. She will make love to him if he asks for it, right then and there, in the street and public. The kissing of the unjustly separated lovers continued for more than 5 minutes. It was Jimmy who realized they were attracting curious onlookers. He released himself from the grip of his beloved girlfriend and told her about the onlookers they had attracted. Buja was overcome with shame when she realized that her special moment with her Uncle Jimmy had been witnessed by more than 20 curious people. She blushed, so she hailed a taxi and pushed her lover into the back seat and made her way to the cab behind him and sat near him. She shouted to the driver the name of her hotel, and they were soon on their way. As soon as the taxi started speeding up, Buja again threw her arms around her lover and they resumed kissing. While racing through the streets and highways, the cab seemed like the place to neck and curses. Buja enjoyed his hands on her. He couldn't take his hands off her body. Happiness and excitement filled her heart, and the pleasure displaced the anxiety she had felt for a long time. Buja never thought she would be able to see her Uncle Jimmy again. Now she was enjoying his touch everywhere, and her soul was filled with indescribable joy. It felt like they were truly on their wedding night for the first time. In her delirium, she said something to her lover that made him laugh. She told him whatever he wanted it from her, she was ready to give him. She said, if he wants to take all her money, then it is his. She just wants to be with him forever. Jimmy responded that he was not interested in her money, but also wanted it to be with her forever. Buja told him, I love you so much. I feel like cutting off one of my breasts and cooking it for you. In American context, this might seem gross and cannibalistic, but Jimmy understood that what his beloved girlfriend meant, and her words spoke about her true love and strong feelings. No one has ever loved him as much as his former Burka girl, Amrita Khan. Buja and Jimmy spent 3 days in the hotel. It is the same place where they celebrated their wedding and enjoyed their honeymoon in the past. During those 3 days, their love revived and never seemed to leave their hearts. Steamy sex, passionate lovemaking, and amazing orgasms are on the menu day after day. The intimate lovers make up for the lost time. They fell into the ancient grove of sexual diversity, and their 3 wonderful days were filled with the classical Hindu sex patterns of the 18 Kama Sutras. Absam made their hearts grow fonder, and they both enjoyed the ecstasy of making love in full swing.